King Kaofeng of the Southern Court is hunting with his kinswoman in the wasteland when a crowd of prisoners are led past them. One of the prisoners intercedes for the poor girl and asks to be allowed to speak to the king, but as soon as His Majesty approaches the lad, he attacks Kaofeng, throwing salt in his direction. As he fights back, the king does not notice a book falling out of his robe. He asks the young man what he is trying to get back at him for, and the boy confesses that he is Yu Tanji, the son and nephew of the heroes Kaofeng killed. The boy tries to make the guards punish him for rioting and his torment, but the king knocks the weapon out of Yu Tanji's hands and is about to leave, giving him life. Despite his pain and desire for revenge, the boy's full attention turns to the princess. The girl laughs at him and says hurtful things, but Yu Tanji does not hear the words, admiring the beauty of the princess. The king releases the guards and gives freedom to all the prisoners except Yu Tanji. The lad thinks Kaofeng is going to execute him, but His Majesty draws his sword and cuts the rope around the slave's arms, declaring that he will not fight a foul battle, and if he wants revenge, he can come at any time. Yu Tanji is alone and lying on the ground. He notices a book that the king has dropped. Remembering that this book is always with King Kaofeng, the boy picks it up, thinking that it has brought the ruler some benefit. Yu Tanji's thoughts return to the beauty. The guy is sure that she accompanies the king because he makes her do it. No sooner does Yu Tanji enjoy his freedom than he is caught again and brought to the very girl he was just thinking about. The beauty turns out to be even worse than her relative. Wanting to play around, she creates a kite out of her prisoner. When the flight is over and the boy ends up on the ground with many wounds, Beauty orders his bruises to be treated and he is sent to a dungeon. Yu Tanji is tormented by thirst, but no one comes to his cries. Finally, the guards come for the boy, but they lead him again to the evil princess. Mad with exhaustion, the prisoner oversteps his bounds and falls at the girl's feet, confessing his love for her, for which the guards punish him until the princess orders them to stop. The beauty beckons her chief bodyguard to her and whispers something in his ear. Yu Tanji has no idea yet what new game the villain has in store for him. The prisoner is taken to the forge, where an iron mask is already being tempered on the coals. The blacksmith adjusts its edges with a hammer, hardens the metal in water, and before it has cooled completely, he puts the mask on the face of Yu Tanji, who cries out in pain. Upon coming to, the boy realizes that he is back in the dungeon and his head is trapped in an iron mask that cannot be removed. The guards do not allow the prisoner to accept this thought, and laughing at him, they take him to the princess so that she can have fun with her new toy. Despite all the torment, Yu Tanji continues to admire the beauty and confess his love for her. The princess calls the captive names, but later she tells him that she actually saved his life. King Kiao ordered the execution of the rebel and she decided to hide him under an iron helmet. All the boy has to do now is keep quiet when he meets King Kiao, so he won't recognize his voice. Belle orders the guards to wash the slave and give him new clothes. Yu Tanji is grateful to the princess, but he does not understand if he can consider himself a man wearing such a mask. The king arrives in town. The princess shows him her new toy, an iron clown, but even the stern Kaofeng is surprised by her relative's cruelty and evil imagination. His Majesty circumvents the territory, issuing instructions to establish peace on the border and arrange trade with the neighboring country instead of endless fighting. The kingdom welcomes Shan, an ambassador from another country, hoping to discuss mutually beneficial cooperation with him. The guest drinks too much alcohol and begins to behave rudely. Kaofeng tries to restrain his reaction to the rude man, but he cannot forget how Shan leaked information during the war, causing Kyo's army to lose many young fighters. Unable to bear it, the young king takes a knife and takes revenge on the traitor, refusing to cooperate with him. The young master, Kyo's younger brother, learns that Kaofeng has become king. The boy finds it hard to accept and fears that they will have to meet on the battlefield when he becomes king of another country. His mentor advises the young master to forget about friendship and think about the interests of his family and his country. Shan returns to his country and tells the old king that he has angered Kaofeng. The traitor does not tell the truth about the fact that he tried to turn the young king against the others, and his advisors suggest to the old man that King Kaofeng threatens him and his kingdom. The princess continues to suffer from boredom. The girl orders the guards to prepare her a horse, and inviting the iron clown with her, she sets off on a new game. The beauty takes her slave to a field and placing a vase of bait on a rock, she waits for the poisonous centipede to scent it. The insect appears very quickly and magnetically lures the millipede into the pot. For good behavior, a bed and other furniture are put in Yu Tanji's dungeon. The boy begins to think that his mistress is not so cruel, but the princess appears in the cell and orders the iron clown to stick his finger in the pot with the poisonous millipede. After seeing the rooster die, Yu Tanji is afraid to dip his hand into the jar, but the princess persuades him, reminding him of his promises to do anything for her. Finally, the boy agrees, and the centipede pours its venom into the prisoner while the princess holds his hand to keep the slave from pulling it away. When it is over, the beauty returns the insect to the magical vase and a few drops of blood drip from it onto the girl's palm, with which she performs some kind of ritual. Glad that she has finally succeeded in what she intended, the girl runs away without even thanking the slave. Yutanji's hand begins to turn black, his body goes numb, and he begins to wriggle out of the pain. The boy can't control himself. He is thrown to the ceiling and hits the floor, causing the book he stole from the king to fall out of his pockets and into a tub of water. He tries to alleviate his suffering by splashing cold water on his face, but it does not get better and he freezes over the fallen book in an unnatural pose. He is surprised to see a picture of a man in the same strange pose as he is standing on the open page. Yutanji also notices that this pose makes him feel better, and he begins to flip through the pages, repeating the exercises depicted in the mysterious manual. The prisoner's hand also begins to heal, and the boy feels the poison reaching his brain. Yutanji is sure that someone has sent him the monk's book so that he can escape the deadly sting. Carefully putting down and smoothing out the book, the Iron Clown thanks his gods. After receiving her new power, the princess trains in her chambers. The girl orders her maids to change her clothes quickly so that she can tell everyone about her new technique and prove that no one can look down on her. Looking into the slave's cell, the beauty thinks he has not survived the poisoning, and she orders the body to be thrown away, but Yutanji begins to scream, surprising the princess. The girl cheerfully greets the Iron Clown and invites him on a hunt for more poisonous insects. While the pair sit in hiding waiting for the millipedes, a poisonous snake appears in the field, which could ruin everything, and the princess orders the slave to chase it away. But then the most poisonous mulberry silkworm appears from the woods and the girl gives a new command to catch the blue creature, which destroys everything it touches. The mulberry silkworm disappears, but the princess is not used to missing her chance, and she orders the Iron Clown to find the monster and not return without it. The girl leaves Yutanji alone in the forest, and he is going to hunt down the silkworm for her, hoping to win the beauty's heart. The boy finds a monastery in which one of the monks is talking to a silkworm. After waiting for everyone to leave, the Iron Clown steals the creature, placing it in a pumpkin jug. The servant knocks on the princess's door, telling her that he has obtained the silkworm for her. The girl rejoices over the gift, but instead of thanking him, she orders Yutanji to tend to the icy creature. The cell becomes very cold from the magical silkworm, and Yutanji cannot sleep, trying to keep warm. Never getting any rest, in the morning the prisoner meets his mistress, who again orders him to stick his hand in the clay pot. The boy agrees, but he asks the princess to address him by his first name and not to call him an ugly Iron Clown. This time, before he dips his hand into the pot, Yutanji assumes the monk's pose from the book, but it doesn't help, and the guy gets all ice cold. The guard listens to the boy's breathing and admits that he did not survive the experiment. The princess orders the slave buried, and while the guards leave, she continues her magical training. The guards can't carry Yutanji's body because it turns out to be too cold, so they throw him into the river. The boy is carried far from the shore, and as soon as the sun hits him, he regains consciousness and his arms begin to move. Once on dry land, Yutanji takes out his magic book and starts training, which makes him feel better. The boy wonders what he should do next, and he doesn't want to go back to the princess lest he be her guinea pig. He builds a hut in the woods and stays behind to study his useful book. The young master is invited to a chess tournament. Having discovered a teleport in her, Yutanji inputs a cheat code and moves next kilometers forward, realizing he may now become an elusive thief. The advisors think it strange because the clever gentleman who invited everyone usually does not communicate with the outside world, and the whole thing could be a trap. But after weighing all the risks, the young master decides to accept the invitation in order to establish contact with his neighbors. Yutanji stumbles upon a sect of beggars in the woods and learns that someone has poisoned 2 of its members. From the conversation of the sectarians, the fugitive realizes that they are waiting for some sorcerer Exushu, from whom the guy is going to steal a bag with something magical to please his cruel princess. The sorcerer Exushu is carried by several men singing songs in his honor. The old man immediately shows his power by waving a bird's wing and tossing the sectarians above the ground. The sorcerer and his men laugh at the sectarians, but the leader of the gang begins to play the flute and a fight ensues between the squads. Each of the sorcerers masters their own techniques, and Yutanji watches from the bushes to see which one of them wins. Unexpectedly, the sect leader manages to defeat and trap old Exushu, but he asks that they let him go and let him meet Cao Feng. The sect leader does not listen to the old man's pleas and informs him that he wants to deal with the rival gang, but one of Exushu the sorcerer's guards is ready to betray his master and give the sect enemies 3 treasures in exchange for his life. The other guards are also ready to betray their master, and they begin promising the sectarian their loyalty and Old Man Isuju's secrets, but he silently watches from his net. Finally, one of the warriors is about to finish off the old man, but as soon as he touches his hand, the sectarian's palm turns black. The warriors begin to fall one by one, infecting each other with an unknown curse. Releasing the poisonous feather, the old man is going to get rid of his main enemy as well, and he succeeds. Noticing that the feather has reached its target, the sect leader flees along with the surviving guards. The traders, who a moment ago were ready to sell the teacher, now praise him again, declaring their loyalty and begging their forgiveness. The sorcerer offers to grant forgiveness to the first one to free him. Yutanzi realizes that now is the best moment to flee while all the bandits are chained by nets, but their pleas for help keep him going and the guy lifts the nets, releasing the sorcerer's helpers to freedom. The last Iron Clown frees Old Man Ixushu. The sorcerer asks the masked guy to check the sectarians' bodies, and he notices that the stranger is resistant to the poison he poisoned them with. In addition, Yutanzi accidentally pushes one of the old man's students away, and he falls to the ground without feeling. Upon seeing this, Ixushu realizes that the stranger is very powerful. The sorcerer promises to let the stranger live only if he agrees to become his apprentice, and Yutanzi happily agrees to enter the old man's service. He tells him about the bite of the ice silkworm, but does not say that it was the work of the mad princess. The young master's counselors gather to speak to the clever gentleman before their master arrives, but in the meantime they too receive an invitation to Mount Shaolin.